ఓం శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. అందరికీ నమస్కారం. In spiritual life, we generally hear these words very frequently. That is Satsang. This is normally, this word is normally heard between disciples. So they say that master is coming, there is a satsang, let us go, and all that. So in Krishna's tradition, the lovers of Krishna, they call it Leela. So let us examine what is this goes on between a master and the disciples, and between incarnations of divinity and the devotees. Let us examine. You see, mysticism is a very beautiful word for all these happenings. Mysticism is the experience that life is not logic but love. It is a declaration that life is unknowable, and it is also a declaration, the mysticism, the word mysticism is also a declaration that life consists of three categories: known, unknown, and unknowable. So the unknowable, this is very important. The unknowable cannot be known, and so far it has not been known, and even in future it can never be known at any point of time. So that is what unknowable means. Unknowable, then why that word? Because the unknowable can only be experienced, can only be lived, can only be possessed by it, can only be a kind of fulfillment, but it cannot be known, and it can never be known, and it cannot be reduced to knowledge. So that is what unknowable means. It can only be lived and experienced. Those who know it, those who lived it, cannot express it in any language of words. So it is like a river merges into the ocean. How can the river describe the ocean? It has become a part of the ocean. It has become a part of the whole, the ocean. So knowledge requires division. there should be an object, there should be a subject. So then knowledge is possible. But when a seeker becomes one with the sought, then how can, like it is like a dewdrop falling into the ocean. Simply the dewdrop disappears into the ocean. It becomes one. So no, it is only a kind of experience. It is not even experience. It is experiencing the experience. So it cannot be described, it cannot be defined in any manner. So this happens in mysticism. This dissolving oneself into the one which he has sought, a devotee becomes no more. He becomes an emptiness when he dissolves into the divinity which he has sought. So this is called mysticism. That means the subject is no more at any point of time. Simply it dissolves itself into that unknowable divinity. So this kind of this word mysticism comes from the Greek word mysterion. So what does it mean? Actually, the mysterion means it is a secret ceremony. So it is invisible. This is what happens in the presence of a master. This is what happened in the presence of Buddha, Lord Krishna, and all enlightened souls. So the lovers of Lord Krishna danced with Krishna. They joined in his dance of celebration. So Lord Krishna and his dance of celebration. So if you want to know what Krishna is sharing, Lord Krishna is sharing with the Gopikas, simply by observing the dance of Lord Krishna with the Gopikas is not sufficient, is not adequate. You have to become a participant. One has to become a participant because that sharing is invisible. That sharing is in silence. So, if a seeker, out of curiosity, goes to a master to observe as to what is happening, then he can hear, only the words of the master. But he cannot understand the silence behind the words of the master. Similarly, if you want to understand and have the experience of sharing of what Lord Krishna does in his dance, one has to become a participant. Unless he becomes a participant, he will not be able to enjoy that invisible sharing. So, in the tradition of Krishna, they called it Ras Leela. Ras means a meeting. So, unless there is a meeting, that sharing is not possible. So, that is why they called it Ras Leela, means a meeting. Unless there is a meeting point, they will not be able to enjoy that sharing, that those blissful moments. So, similarly, this is what happened in the presence of Buddha all enlightened souls. So, they called it this kind of meetings, this kind of secret ceremonies in the presence of Buddha are called and Satsangs. So, whatever happens in the presence of a master and all enlightened souls is called Satsang. Satsang means being with the truth. You are in the presence of the truth, and master is that truth. So, when you are in the presence of a master, and if you want to hear only the words of the master out of curiosity, then you can hear only the words of the master. But when you are in tune with the master, in deep love, those words in the satsangs become a music, because a true seeker, he will be able to listen not to the words but to the music flowing from the master. And when he falls into the silence behind those words, behind that music, then something happens. That means in those satsangs, they sit together in the presence of the master and disciple. They look into each other's eyes, and some being of the presence of the master transpires and to the disciple. Something happens, so that the mind hears to the music, but the heart of the disciple or the seeker absorbs the being of the master, the being of the presence of the master. That is what a satsang, that is called, the satsangs are also called secret ceremonies. So, the point here is, unless one is related to the master in deep love, this kind of transmission is not possible. So, for instance, in the presence of Buddha, what happens? Buddha, Gautama Buddha, is an enlightened soul. So there are so many disciples who are unkindled with the light. So when you are in the presence of that holy being, of that presence of the truth, so that is like the presence of the master is like a flame. So when you are in the presence of the master, somewhere, sometime, we don't know, when you are in the presence of the master, some light from that flame may ignite your inner being with wisdom. So that light of wisdom is kindled from the master, from the presence of the master. So then this disciple and the master, their energies flows into one another and they become one. So in that unity, there is only experiencing the experience. So the presence, being in the presence of the masters, in the holy presence of the masters itself ignites the wisdom in your inner being. So mysticism means it is unknowable. What happens? It is unknowable. It can only be experienced. That unknowable can only be experienced and lived. So the experiences are there for so many disciples, but the understanding of that mystical experience is divine, because even the unripe seekers can also have that experience, but they cannot understand that silence behind those divine experiences. So unless you are in tune with the Master, in deep love and in deep harmony, that vibes of the presence of the Master cannot penetrate into your being. So, the presence of a live Master, if you are fortunate enough to find a Master, do not miss his presence. Thank you.